Okay, here is the instructions on how to make your blog for the chi-squared unit. Instead of making a blog answering a lot of questions about different aspects of chi-squared, what you're going to do is you're going to make your own chi-squared problem. And you're going to make everything up, including the data. Otherwise, if you have to actually take the data, that would be practically an internal assessment project. In fact, it would be. So what you're going to do is you're going to make your own chi-square problem, but you're going to make up your data just like we did in the investigation. So you get the idea on how to do this, and you can see that the most simple internal assessments could be this, but you get your data legitimately through research or through a poll. But otherwise, the difficulty in terms of the calculation could be at this level pretty much. Okay? So this is kind of a practice for your internal assessment in addition to getting to know a little bit better the chi-squared concepts. Okay? So like for example, for me, I am going to choose a topic which I'm going to, and I would like for you guys to choose something that interests you, okay? And for mine, I am going to choose computer games, okay? Now, this was very interesting to me when I was your age, but now not so interesting. But okay, computer games. Two variables or categories that will be checked for independence. So I would like to check amount of game playing. So amount of game playing and grades. Okay, so those are the two variables or the two categories that I'm going to check. And the space I leave you here to make your contingency table is big enough for a 3 by 3 matrix. But if you would like to make a bigger matrix, that's no problem. Just you can draw it on the back if you want to, or just divide up this grid a little bit more. So let's see. The categories I'm going to make are for grades. I'm going to have low grades, medium grades or average grades, and I'm going to have high grades. And then I'm going to have totals, okay? And then for the columns, I'm going to have 0 to 9 hours, and then I'm going to have 10 to 19 hours, and this is per week. Some of you may play 0 to 9 hours per day. Okay, and then totals. Okay, and then like I'm gonna make up some data here. For example, I am going to put let's see, 6 here. I'm going to put 33 here. And then I'm just going to fill this table with numbers that I think make sense, okay? 11 here, 35 here, 22 here. I'm not going to make you watch all this boring part of me selecting numbers, but you're just going to choose numbers which you think make sense for each category. Then you're going to total up each of these rows. So for example, the first row is going to be 6 plus 33 plus 47, which totals up to 86. So I'm going to put it in the total 86 here. Okay, and then I'm just going to total up each row just like that. The second row, it totals up to 68. Actually, the first row, I think, totals up to, oh, actually, I meant to do 57 here. So actually, this totals up to 96. 96. Okay, so let's total up the next row. It's going to be 56. And then the totals for the columns, 23 plus 11 plus 6 is equal to 40. And the next row, 33 plus 22 plus 35 is 90. And the next one is also 90. And the total of everything is going to be 220. Okay, so I just invented data here, which made sense to me. Okay, basically, like I put more people here, right? So like right in the middle, average grades, average number of hours. I put a peak. I also put a peak at high grades and low amount of hours. For example, I want to kind of make it so that there's a relationship between high grades and the low number of hours of video game playing. And then for very high amount of video game playing, I make less high grades. So I'm trying to create something that I think is real. Okay, perform a chi-squared test at the blank significance level to decide if blank is independent from blank. So for this one, we're going to say you're going to choose a chi-squared test significance level. You're going to put like 1, 5, or 10. So I'm going to put 5. 5% significance level to decide if video game playing is independent from grades. Okay. Oops. All right. Okay. State the null hypothesis. And we almost have already stated the null hypothesis, but we're going to state it here. We're going to say video game playing is independent from grades. Okay. State the alternative hypothesis. That would be video game playing is not independent from grades. Show how to calculate the expected frequency of blank and blank. And here you're going to choose two different categories. Let's see. How about if we choose low number of hours and high grades? Low number of hours of video game playing and high grades. So we'll put high grades and low number of hours, or 0 to 9 hours. Okay? And the way you calculate the expected frequency of that is you're going to look at the totals. So for example, I said high grades and low number of hours. So that would be 96, 90, and 220. So we would multiply together 96 divided by 220 times 90 divided by 220 times 220. So we're going to write that out here. 96 divided by 220, 90 divided by 220 times 220. Okay, and what does that equal? I'm going to do that on the offline calculator. 96 times 90 divided by 220, 39.27, 39.3. Okay, so the expected frequency for high grades and low number of hours, 39.3. You can see there's 57. So it looks like there is something to that there's a peak here. Okay, write down the chi-squared calc value for this data. Now you're going to use your calculator, and you're going to put second matrix, and we're going to make a matrix. We're going to put in this matrix, let's say matrix C. Oops, not that one. Second matrix, and then we're going to go to edit, and then I'm going to go to C. And in C, I'm going to put my data that I had above here, and it's 3 by 3, right? Because I'm only going to put in the middle part here. Okay, so it's a 3 by 3, not a 4 by 4. So we're going to go down and start inputting this data. The first one is 6, the next one is 11, the next one is 23, and so on, and I won't make you watch all this, I'll pause. So now we have 6, 11, 23, 33, 35, 22, 57, 22, 11, and then we're going to run our stat test. We'll go up to chi-squared, which is the C option, and then we're going to put in second matrix C, and then in the expected we'll put second matrix D, and then we'll calculate. And then so we got a chi-squared value that was very large. It's 42.1. So down here we're going to write that the chi-squared calc value is 42.1. And then I forgot to do something up here. I forgot to do this step here where it says show how to calculate the number of degrees of freedom. Well, when it's a 3 by 3 matrix, remember that you instead of multiplying 3 by 3, you do 3 minus 1 times 3 minus 1. So you do 3 minus 1 times 3 minus 1 equals 4. Okay? So the degrees of freedom in this case is 4. And we're going to need to know that because here we need to find our own critical value. Remember, the critical value is used to compare the chi-squared value to it, and based on that you determine if the null hypothesis should be rejected or not. So the critical value, we're going to use this table here, which you can find many tables that are similar to this on the internet. So this table requires two inputs. One is the degrees of freedom, and that's why it's so important to figure out what the degrees of freedom are. We never used it before because we never had to find the critical value for these problems because they always give it to us. But when you do your internal assessment, you're going to need to do that. So we're going to look at the degrees of freedom 4 because that's the degrees of freedom for this case. And then we also specified that the significance level is 5%. So then we're going to look at 0.05. Where those intersect is the critical value, 9.49. So we can put 9.49 as our critical value here. Okay, and then we're going to compare the chi-squared value to the critical value and comment on our results. So our chi-squared value is 42.1, and it is greater than 9.49. And remember, if the chi-squared value is greater than the critical value, then that means we reject the null hypothesis, right? So in the end, if we reject the null hypothesis, that means that the two factors, which are high grades and or grades and so grades and video game playing are not independent, okay, because we rejected the null hypothesis. Now what I'd like you to do is take a photo of this page with your phone and then send it to yourself and then upload this image to your blog page as your latest blog for your chi-squared unit. And then also later this would become a good reference for your internal assessment, a possible idea for an internal assessment later if you have trouble thinking of something else. Good luck.